Okay, well, after that tough time, it got things going. Hmm. I hope that didn't set people's notifications crazy, but let's go. Let's go to Z-Man. Let me see, is the title everything actually spelled correctly? Okay. Greek Mythology Zeus. It's in the gaming category. Can I actually fix that here? Public game. No. At the very least, it has to be entertainment, right? As I'm not talking about God of War here. Okay, let's get started. Zeus was the king of the gods and the god of the sky. So we're getting the basics started. Alright. Weather, law and order, destiny and fate, and kinship. Okay. He was depicted as a regal, mature man with a sturdy figure and dark beard. His usual attire were a lightning bolt in royal sculpture. Now, again, that's how he's depicted, not necessarily what he's told to look like in mythology. Zeus was the youngest child of the Titans, Cronus, and Rhea. Cronos devoured each of his children, and they were born, but Zeus escaped this fate when his mother spirited him away, handing the Titan a child stone substitute wrapped in swaddling cloth. I feel like I kind of know that a little bit of mythology. I don't need going deeper. The god was raised in secrecy on Mount. I almost want to say Mount Dike and in Crete, when he was nursed by nymphs on the milk of the goat Amalina and guarded by the warrior Coritus, who drowned out the sound of his crying with their shield clashing battle dance. Oh, this is definitely the first I've heard of this, so there's something. Almina was the she-goat nurse of the god Zeus, who nourished him with milk in the cave Mount Dike. When the god reached maturity, he created his thunder shield, the Aegis, from her hide and the horn of plenty from her crown. According to some, Almita was a nymph rather than a goat. Amina was placed amongst the stars as the constellation Capra, the stellar group surrounding Capella, on the arm of Igrio. Okay, I'm gonna do one of these.
Auriga the Charioteer.
Okay, I didn't even know what it sounded like in Japanese.
Auriga the Charioteer.
Origo, Origo the charioteer.
Origa the charioteer.
Origo the charioteer, apparently, the goat of the arm, no doubt represented the stormy Aegis shield of Zeus, which in classical art was sometimes depicted as a excuse me, as a tasseled hide slung across him. Sorry, tasseled hide sometimes tossed. Excuse me. In classical art was sometimes depicted as tasseled hide slung across his arm. The rising of Capella marked the onset of stormy weather for Greeks. The word Aegis means both stormy weather and goatskin in ancient Greek, which explains the close connection between the two myths. I think I got the gist of that. Upon coming of age, Zeus recruited the goddess Metis to his cause. She served the Titan Kronos, a magical drought which caused him to disgorge the young gods he devoured. Why did she do this? Is it was it just his sex appeal? Oh, this just goes into a whole backstory, which I got another time. Zeus liberated the 6 giant sons of heaven from the pits of Tartarus, or pit. In gratitude, the Cyclops armed him with lightning bolts, and the Hecatocoura, 100-handed, aided him in his assault on the Titans. With a volley of thrown boulders, Kronos and his allies were eventually defeated and vanished to prison beneath the earth. Can we hear a little more about this battle? The Titan Monarchy. You know, I feel like this is just a video all on its own. After the fall of the Titan gods, Zeus and his brothers drew lots of divided rule of cosmos. Zeus won the heavens, Poseidon the sea, and Hades the underworld. Imagine going through all that and not automatically being the #1 guy. But I guess he lucked out, or cheated. Zeus devoured the pregnant goddess Metis when an oracle revealed that her son was destined to replace him as king of the gods. Their child, sorry, their child Athena was subsequently born in his belly and birthed directly from his head. I kind of know that story. Zeus married his sister Hera, like a true Greek, queen of the heavens, after seducing her in the goose of a cuckoo-bird. What? In the guise of a cuckoo-bird. But this union of ever-quarring sky god and sky goddess proved not to be a match in heaven, of course. Prometheus crafted the race of man and gave them fire stolen from the gods. Sorry, stolen from the heavens. Zeus punished this act by ordering the creation of the first woman, Pandora, and sent her to earth with the vessel full of troubles to plague mankind. Prometheus himself was arrested and chained to the mountain with an eagle set to torment him. There's a little bit more to that story, honestly. In fact, I think he denied, if I understand correctly, also denied Zeus the knowledge of knowing which child would overthrow him. For the gods keep hidden from men the means of life, crops. Else you would easily do work enough in one day to supply you with full year even without working. Soon would you put away your rubber ever to smoke, and the fields worked by the ox, and sturdy mule would run the waste. But Zeus in anger of his heart hid it, because Prometheus the crafty deceived him. Therefore he planned sour and mischief against men. He hid fire, but the noble son Iapetus stole it again for men from Zeus, the counselor, in a hollow funnel stock, so that Zeus, who delights in thunder, did not see it. But afterwards Zeus, who gathers the clouds, said to him in anger, Son of Iapetus, surpassing all in cunning, you are glad that you have outwitted me and stolen fire, a great plague to you, yourself, and to men that shall be. But I will give men as the price for fire, an evil of which they may never all be glad of the heart while they embrace their own destruction. So said the father of men and the gods, and laughed aloud. And he bade famous Hephaestus, make haste and a mix of earth with water, and put in the voice of strength of humankind, and fashion a sweet, lovely maiden shaped like the immortal goddesses, in the face of Pandora. But when he had finished the sheer and hopelessness snare, the door, the first woman created by the gods, the father sent Hermes to take it briefly as a gift. And Prometheus had said to him, bidding him never to take the gift of Olympian Zeus, but send it back for fear it might prove to be something harmful to men. But he took the gift, and afterwards, when the evil thing was already he understood. After creating man, Prometheus is said to have stolen fire and revealed it to men. The gods were angered by this and sent two evils to earth, women and disease. Such is the account given by Superpill. I wonder how much was just like Zeus going, you know what's really evil? My wife. The story goes that Prometheus stole the fire and Zeus and rains rewarded those who reported the theft with the drug. Oh, so this is just all the variations, I'm assuming. One was a little more detailed, just saying, hey, he pretty much tried to trick Zeus as well. Alright, that's enough. I can definitely see how certain interpretations can bother people about Greek mythology because with so many versions, people try to create a canon, and creating one canon just absolutely makes no sense. Now let's read about the wickedness of Zeus. The early generations of man descended into wickedness and corruption, and Zeus decided to wipe them from the face of the earth with a great deluge. One virtuous couple, Delaciano. What I'm gonna
Deucalion and Pyrrha. Deucalion and Pyrrha.
Deucalione and Pyrrha. Deucalione and Pyrrha were spared and after allowed to repopulate the world with casting the stones which transformed into men. So, Adam and Eve, huh? 40 days, 40 nights mixed with Adam and Eve. Gotcha. They were the first king and queen of the northern reaches of Greece. The couple lived in the time of the Bronze race of mankind, a third warlike generation born after the virtuous silver and gold races. Zeus was angered by their impiety and destroyed them with a great deluge. I'm assuming that means water, but let me actually check. Yep, there we go. Only Delica and Pharaoh survived the apocalypse, having been warned of the impending calamity by Prometheus. Oh, that Prometheus, he really does like to spoil the gods' plans, doesn't he? Mounting a chest, the couple found refuge, the dry peak of Mount Parnassus. Other religions also claim the survivors of King Darnassus was said to have sought refuge in Mount Ida, in Troad, Chromabos, who carried to the height of Mount Orthus by the nymphs. I feel like the more I try to read these hard to understand names, the more I get lost. But I am actually learning a lot. They had a number of sons and daughters. The most famous were Helene and Ephemus, king of the Hellenes, and the three maidens loved by the Greek god Zeus, Pandora, who was named after her maternal grandmother. Most famous great-grandsons included Sisyphus, Salmoneus, and Athamas, Dactys, and Polydectes. Okay, I, why do I keep trying?
Sisyphos, Salmoneus, Athamas, Dictys, and Polydectes, Ion, and Endymion.
Yes, I will definitely remember that. Remember all that. The intervening generations consisted mostly of ephemes, that is, figures who gave their names to tribes or places in which they had little or no mythology. Alright. Now let's get back. Oh, we on to Typhonus. The monstrous of a kind, the monstrous, Typhonus, the most monstrous of his kind, and set upon him the Olympians. The rest of the gods fled in horror, and Zeus himself was defeated in combat, with the monster tearing the sinews from his limbs, rendering him helpless. Pan later stole back the god's strength and restored Zeus, defeating the giant in a rematch and bound him beneath Mount Etna. Oh, we on to this portion now. Zeus seduced many mortal women, including Leda, in the guise of a swan, Europa as a bull, Diana as a shower of gold, what? Almina as her own husband, Callisto as the goddess Artemis. Hey, what? As goddess Artemis, and Antiba as, okay, I don't remember him turning into a god. What? Zeus loves Street. Okay. So here's a whole section. The bull part. I think they really did have a fun with writing about Zeus' affairs. I think that's why there's so many. Zeus lore, he boned anything. Yes, yes. There's a whole page about his boning. I was looking for the one that mentioned Artemis. Maybe reading that was a misunderstanding. But his favorite was a bull, pretty much. I don't understand the golden shower part. Zeus, who gathers the clouds, answered her, his wife Hera, never before has love for any goddess or woman so melted about the heart of me as broken submission. When I lost, okay. Not believing that Zeus is Zeus, he cast his daughter out to the sea with her son as an ark. The ark drifted ashore, recovered the child he brought. Hmm. Okay. And some of the others maintained that had a daughter named Callisto, although this epic poem says she was one of the Nymphae, while Aristophanes said identifies her as father of Nyctos. Okay, one thing I would definitely not learn is to identify all these writers and poets, at least not until I'm way deep in it. She was hunting companion of Artemis, imitating her dress and remaining under oath a virgin for the goddesses. But Zeus fell in love with her and forced her into bed, taking the likeness, some say, of Artemis and others. So he transformed himself into a woman. Interesting. Because he wanted to escape the attention of Hera, Zeus chained Callisto into a bear, but Hera persuaded Artemis to shoot the girl with an arrow like a wild animal. There are those who maintain, however, that Artemis shot her because she did not protect her virginity. As Callisto died, Zeus seized his baby and handed it over to Mia, the rear of Arcadia, giving it the name Arcas. Callisto he changed into a star, which he called Arctos, the bear. Alright. We don't need to go all the way into Zeus's bone town. The god's favorite mortal son was, of course, Heracles, or Her wait, Heracles, whom he supported throughout his trial and eventually welcomed to the Olympus as a god. We all seen that movie. Zeus punished the worst villains in myth for their impetuity and crimes against the gods, including Tantalos, who stole Ouroboros from heaven, Lycaon, Lycaon, who served human flesh to gods. Imagine imagine the balls on this dude to just say, you know what would be funny? Feeding dead humans to gods. Ixion, who attempted to rape Zeus's wife Hera, and Salmonus, who tried to imitate Zeus and steal the worship that was due to the gods. So basically, the worst villains of the gods are complete idiots. Many, many of the many of the myths are detailed over the following pages. Lightning bolt. So this is how to depict lightning bolt. Lightning bolt, lightning bolt. His throne. Wrath of olive leaves. Sacred animals and plants. Eagle, bull, holm oak, olive tree. Return of Zeus. So wherever Zeus is, there's a army of lesser entities around him. His throne was guarded by four winged spirits, two male, two female, named Kratos, strength, Zeta, Zelos, rivalry, Nike, victory. Is that the same Nike for Athena? I bet that is, and that was just given to Athena. And Bio, force. Like, Star Wars. Kratos and Bio function as a muscular enforcer and were tasked with jobs such as the apprehension and imprisonment of the Titan Prometheus. Nike drove Zeus' chariot and often accompanied him in miniature form as something of a divine familiar. The god Hermes was Zeus's personal herald, who acted as a diplomat, envoy, and general agent of God's will. And the blue god in Disney is just the first thing that always comes to mind. I feel like it's almost the perfect look for that creature, that god. His messenger was Iris, the winged goddess of the rainbow, who simply relayed messages verbatim and delivered commands to the other gods. Zeus's high counselor, Demas, I thought that was a Titan. Goddess of law and order, was seated beside his throne. She was attended by their 6 daughters, Fate, Seasons. These goddesses were collectively responsible for the orderly functioning of the cosmos. Themis was also charged with summoning all the gods to assembly in the courtyard of Zeus. The god's virgin sister Hestia also resided in his palace where she tended the ever-burning divine hearth fire in the center of the hall. Metis, goddess of wisdom, was perhaps his most unusual attendant. Zeus swallowed her whole to avoid a prophecy, and she took up residence in his belly. The ancient Greeks believed the belly rather than the brain was the seat of thought and emotion. Okay. And so was subsummoning her. He effectively implanted wise counsel in his mind. She continued to exist in some form or other within the god, even to the extent of birthing Athena there and equipping her with armor and weapons before her second birth from Zeus's head. So cupbearers, the winged harpies known as the hounds of Zeus, were crude creatures tasked by the god with carrying off the harassing mortals. Pegasus, the winged horse, carried Zeus's lightning bolts, and 4 other immortal horses drew his chariot through the sky. So Zeus has a lot of backup counselors and other things. So Zeus's life is probably tasked with a lot of perhaps boring detail. Zeus was the son of the Titan Kronos. As you know, he married his sister, and here we have a family tree. These never mention chaos. Admittedly, he's barely an entity, but still. Chaos and Kronos. Later mythologies enumerate three Zeus in their genealogies, with 2 Arcadian ones and 1 Cretan. And the first is said to be the son of Arthur, the second of Colossus, whatever. According to the Homeric account, Zeus, like the other Olympian gods, dealt and Mount Olympus, leads to penetrate, yada yada. He is called the Father, Son of God, the most high and powerful among the immortals, whom all others obey. So, makes pretty clear that he is the ruler and the most powerful of the Olympians. He is armed with thunder and lightning. What? But what can he do with thunder? And how can you arm thunder? Is he just use it to scare people? It destroys him as a thunderer? I mean, people who fart often and loud here are also called thunderers. So consistently, Zeus is the son of Kronos and Rhea. So it's just going over the versions of Zeus pretty much. Kronos was the first ruler. Classical literature quotes. So this is basically just saying, yes, Zeus was awesome, powerful, and even the world shook at his power. Okay. It's a little bit too poetry-esque for me. I like reading it, but boy, coming out of my mouth, it won't sound good. Ancient Greek and Roman art. They do indeed like their pottery. Very underappreciated, and perhaps very difficult. Though I think I'm more of a statue man myself. Yeah, the statues of Zeus, Jupiter. And here are the sources. And that is the end of the page. Now, I skimmed over a lot, so definitely what more can I get into here? Birth of Zeus, nursing of Zeus, war of the Titans. How about the war of the giants? The Gigantes were a tribe of 100 giants. Born of the earth goddess Gaia, according to some, she was impregnated by the blood of the castrated sky god. In the urging of Gaia, the giantess waged war on the gods and were destroyed in ensuing battle. The most famous of the combatants were Anacodas, who was buried by Athena beneath Mount Ita, Polybius, who was crushed by an island cast by Poseidon, and Prophena, who was slain by Zeus, and Heracles when he attempted to violate the goddess Hera. The giants were depicted as either a spear-wielding hoplite warriors or armor in primitive cloth and animal skins, and armed with rocks and flaming brands. In sculpture, the moss art, they were usually depicted with tails and serpent placed as legs. So a bit silly. They might represent primitive tribes. So yeah, the giants, by all intents purposes, got toe up. Though they are usually depicted as monsters or just cool warriors who battled Athena in War of the Gods. When he fled the battlefield, Athena pursued and crushed him beneath Silicon Mount Ebony. According to others, it was the giant Typhonius who was buried beneath the volcano. Athena and the giant go to battle. Never did Athena wash her mighty arms before she drove the dust from the flanks of her horses, not even when her armor was all defiled with filth. She returned from the battle flawless giantess. But first she loosened from the car her horses' necks, and springs Okinos. Okay, so Athena did not like to take baths. I gotcha. Uh, cool statue. But yeah, I guess I should read the one about Zeus and Hercules. Porphyrion was the king of the giants, Gigantus, of Pallene, who waged war on the gods. He was struck down by Heracles and Zeus with arrows and a bolt of lightning when he tried to violate the goddess Hera on the battlefield. Prophene is probably the same Erimna and the king of the giants mentioned by Homer. There are several possible etymologies for the name. It could mean surging from the Greek world. Any kind of detail? Maybe I shouldn't say the R word. I don't think YouTube likes the R word, so I better be careful of that. The greatest of them were Prophena, the Agus, in the curse of the battlefield, rushed against Heracles, and also Hera. Zeus instilled him with passion for Hera, and when he tore her gown and wanted to, she called for help, where Zeus hit him with a thunderbolt and Heracles slew him with an arrow. I guess it says something that it was the two gods. Is that the first thing that Zeus really ever did for Hera? Typhoon of the Hundred-Handed could not escape his fate, nor could even the great king of the giants. But by the thunderbolt they were laid low. And this is the art of the battle. They didn't stand much of a chance. Part 4, Cult of Zeus. Oh boy. Where do I start? And Leto was joined in love with Zeus, who holds the Aegis, and bear Apollon and Artemis delighting in the arrow. Who the heck is Leto? Where should I start? Oh, there's so much. So there's technically a lot of sky gods. What about his family? Offspring mortal. So Ares is a offspring from Hera and Zeus. Hermes is by Maya, Aphrodite by Diana, but is usually more often not by Hera. Or random women. Look at that look on his face. By the way, does Zeus just always have lightning bolt in his hand? Like just in case the Titans pop up? Perhaps I should look at the Titan War. The Olympian lighter Zeus called all the deathless gods to great Olympus, and said that whoever of the gods would fight with him against the Titans, he would not cast him out from his rights, but each should have the office which he had before amongst the deathless gods. He said to that the gods who under Kronos had gone without position privilege under him be raised to these. Okay, from that, what I can gather is he's telling all the gods, hey, follow me, fight for me, you'll get titles and rule. The son, Zeus, son of Kronos. Okay, now I'm gonna start from where it makes the most sense to me. And the gods and givers and goods applauded when they heard his word, and their spirit longed for war even more than before, and they all, both male and female, stirred up a heated battle that day. The Titan gods and all were born of Kronos together with those dread, mighty ones of overwhelming strength whom Zeus brought up to the light from Ebros, beneath the earth, and 100 arms sprang from the shoulders of all alike, and each had 50 heads growing upon their shoulders, upon stout limbs. These then stood against the Titans in the grim strife, holding huge rocks in their strong hands, and the other part of the Titans Titanus eagerly strengthened their ranks, and both sides at one time showed the work of their hands and their might. The boundless sea rang terribly, and the earth crashed loudly. Wide heaven was shaken and groaned, and the high Olympus reeled from the foundation under the charge of the undying gods, and a heavy quaking reached dim Tartarus, and the deep sound of their feet in a fearful onset, and their hard missiles. So then they launched their grievances shaft upon one another, and the cry of both armies, as they shouted, reached a starry heaven, and they met together with a great battle cry. Then Zeus no longer held back his might, but straight his heart was filled with fury, and he showed forth all his strength from the heaven and the Olympus. He came forth, hurling his lightning. The bolt flew thick and fast from his strong hand together, and with thunder and lightning, whirling an awesome flame, the life-giving earth crushed around in burning, and the vast wood cracked loud with fire all about. All the land seethed. Oceans, streams, and unfruitful sea, the hot vapor lapped round the Titaness. F- Flame unspeakable rose to the bright upper air. The flashing glare and the thunderstone of lightning blinded their eyes for all that they were strong. Astounding heat seized, and to see with their eyes and hear with sound, ears it seemed even as earth, a wide heaven above came together for such a mighty crash would have arisen if earth Gaia were being hurled to ruin, and the heaven from on high were hurling her down. So great a crash was there, while the gods were meeting together in strife. Also winds brought a rumbling earthquake, dust storm, thunderstorm, lightning, Lord Thunderbolt, which are the shaft of the great Zeus, and carried the clangor and the war cry into the midst of two hosts. In horrible uproar its terrible strife rose. Mighty deeds were shown and the battle inclined, but until then they kept at one another and fought continually cruel in war. Okay. All that was see is just epic poetry saying they fought and they fought and they fought and the planet's ecosystem just went awry and from the sky to the earth and probably the space as well. It was just pure chaos. And amongst the foremost Kotos, whatever, for war raised fierce fighting, 300 rocks, one upon another they launched from their strong hands, and overshadowed the Titans with their missiles, and buried them beneath the wide path earth, bound them in bitter chains when they had conquered them by their strength for all their great spirit, as for beneath the earth to Tartarus, there by the counsel of Zeus, who drives the clouds the Titan gods are hidden under, misty gloom in the dark place where the ends of the huge earth, and they may not go out. For Poseidon's fixed gates of the bronze upon it, and a wall runs all round it in every side. The Jaios and Kotos, and the great sword. I'm gonna let me just read that.
Obriarius.
Oberarius Typhon to oppose Zeus. Oh boy, whew. So an epic battle that eventually led with Zeus winning. I'm admittedly curious. What is the last story actually involving Zeus? I know there's no chronological really, but what are the last things that we can sort of cobble together? I guess we're going to his mortal offspring. Okay, so far, two of his children are kings. Alexander the Great. Okay, there's another king. Okay, so if you bore Zeus, you're almost guaranteed royalty. Fair enough. Heracles 2. Okay, let's read this. Heracles 1. Heracles, the greatest of the Greek heroes. He was born in his city, central Inn. Heracles, son of Zeus. According to some, he was confused. Is that his brother? So basically, there's a number of Herculeses out there. Interesting. I even went to Africa, huh? A couple of them. So they just got tied with the names, I guess. Tityos, a giant central Greece, who was, according to some, a son of Zeus and Lyra, though others say he was the fatherless son of Gaia the Earth. Interesting. I honestly feel like I got the most of it. I got the most basic stuff down, in my opinion. It's enough to give me a gist, I believe. I think I can call that a night. This is interesting. What else? What other type of god should I do next? Hmm. I'll figure out later, but for now, that'll be the end of Zeus.